Welcome back, baseball family, to another episode of Ball Talk. I'm Brig. I got Brad here with me, and we have another absolutely fabulous interview that we are excited to get you into. We sat down and talked with Dave Turgeon. He's a coach at IMG Academy in Florida. He spent a bunch of time with the Pirates organization and throughout Major League Baseball, but he also spent a lot of time in international baseball. We talked to him about culture. We talked to him about player development. We talked to him about a lot of stuff. Please enjoy as much as we did. Welcome back, baseball family. We have another excellent and exciting interview to get into here today. We've got Dave Turgeon with us, and we will tell you all about him, and he will tell you all about him in a moment. But before we do that, we're going to give him into a rundown, just like we do with all of our guests. And Dave, the first question that we ask everybody is, what is your quest?
What is my quest? So real simple. Change the world one baseball player at a time.
Love that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Never
The
know.
best answers are simple, but they carry a ton of weight behind them.
So,
Fantastic.
if you want to affect change, obviously it starts with yourself, and then, those that are in contact with you daily. I adopted that when I was with the Pittsburgh Pirates in player development. And really all that comes from is coaching in a holistic manner, where we always believe that the player resides in the man. So the ability to change boys into men is really how you impact the game. Because, when guys mature and all of a sudden they figure out how to do the right stuff over and over again, and post up and do the right things, and stuff on the field has a tendency to clean up. So we kind of adopted that when I was over in Pittsburgh, and I see if there's anything I'm convicted in player development, it's being able to coach the man first or the boy first and help him, learn how to be responsible and a good teammate, how to work, how to show up injured, sick, whatever it is, and all of that, and where doesn't that translates in everything. So that was our motto, and I've been there ever since.
That's fantastic.
Love it. Okay, I have a hard-hitting question for you. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color is navy blue. Maybe it's from my Yankee days.
Yeah. Well, you can't escape excellence.
Yeah, I mean,
you just can't. Yeah.
The pennies, the hat, it's in me.
Yeah, Briggs our local Yankees fan.
Yes, I am. The royal we are represented here every time. All right. If baseball were an ice cream flavor, Dave, what would it be?
If baseball were an ice cream flavor, so I guess it would be something like a cake mix where you've got all these different colors in it. It's all a bunch of different colors. It's not one color, and there's a lot of gray. It's not black and white, that's for sure. But it's a lot of different things. I would say as many colors as you could possibly put into an ice cream.
That's awesome.
Yep. Okay, I do actually have a hard-hitting question for you. Is Babe Ruth overly romanticized?
I think he's underrated. Yeah, I have this thing. One of the things I like to do is go on and just look at statistics, real, not the deep dive stuff that, exit velocities and all that stuff, talking about real, run production, batting averages, stolen base, the basic real baseball statistics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of obvious. I mean, they just, like, one of his pitching records, World Series pitching records, was just recently broken in the past 5 or 10 years, but could have been a Hall of Fame pitcher, was on his way there. And then, like, what he did for that period of time, it just goes so far, best of his era, right? Best of era, 70s, 80s, 90s. And if you broke it down into when he was playing league averages for all of the stuff that he did, he's just so above the level. Okay. So like probably more above the level than Michael Jordan was above the level for his generation. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but that's how I kind of look at stuff.
Right.
And, if you think about it, I remember, we still say stuff like, why are we pitching around this guy? Was he Babe Ruth? Babe Ruth played in like the 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And there's still, and people out here, I'm not even sure if they know who he is, but kids know him. They say his name. But his statistics are mind-boggling, in my opinion. He's one. I think he's not underrated, but he kind of is. He redefined the game, and I don't know if there's ever been another one like him. And he was a two-way guy.
Right. We used to give the kids, when I was coaching my son's team a couple of years ago, and we used to give the kids a hard time because we'd be like, who's your favorite player? And all of them would be like, Babe Ruth. Like, you don't even know Babe Ruth. Like, you got to pick somebody who you've actually gotten to watch. Like, we don't even know Babe. But yeah, the fact that they knew who Babe Ruth was, they don't know who Honus Wagner was, probably don't know Ty Cobb.
No.
Right? But they all know Babe Ruth.
Yes. And also, and I know generations have different approaches at the plate and all this stuff. He never struck out 100 times in a season. I think he hit 340 lifetime. His numbers are stupid. And it's hard to imagine his numbers.
It's true.
It's crazy.
We ask everybody this question because Brad's on one side and I'm on the other, and he keeps losing ground here.
I got an early lead, but it's not looking good lately. So that's fine. It's fine. It's a fun debate, I feel like.
It is fun.
That's why we keep it up.
Yeah,
so that's what we have for our rundown. I have, first things first, can you explain to us what IMG Academy is? Because I'd heard of it, I went and looked it up, and it's fascinating. But I want you to explain to our audience what IMG Academy is, what you guys do, and the whole thing with it, because it's awesome.
So first, it's a sports academy that's also a boarding school, and so I think, I'm not sure how many sports total, 13, 14 or whatever, and they're all, each sport is tiered from a national team, down. And so they tier out scheduling and put kids in position, to have success and be at a level they need to be at before progressing to the next level. So that's the first thing. The second thing I will say is it is a very international place. I can speak obviously to the baseball. We've Asia, South Central America. We've got players from all over the world here. Korea, Japan, Taiwan. I believe we got someone from mainland China. We've got coaches from all over the world as well. And so it's that's another interesting aspect of it. So you've got a lot of different cultures of baseball kind of converging into one place, which is extremely cool. Because even within the United States, different parts of the country have different baseball cultures. And then you talk about those differences, and then the differences of our international players. And somehow we create these teams that become amazing, tight units that are playing for each other. It's a very cool environment. It is, if you looked at it, it appears like it's a Power 5 school campus that's spread out, a walking campus. There are resources for our players, just as though they're going to a Division I Power 5 school, with nutrition and mental skills and leadership and the weight room and speed and obviously their classroom, time and all that stuff. We also have students that are, Ivy League to, JUCO guys. We've got a wide spectrum of different students. And so the academic, the variety and then the support they get is second to none. It's awesome. And so a typical high school doesn't have these resources a typical high school doesn't have so much. It doesn't have to be so much time management because there's so much on their plate. So that's why our guys, when they go through this experience, they transition really well to college because they go through their homesickness, they go through their time management struggles, they go through adversity. Just the burst, it's hard, and so usually they hit the ground running when they go to their next place, whether it's pro ball or college, and that's a lot. Like it's like an incredible that to me, I don't know of another place like that can kind of transition kids really well to the next thing. And I will tell you that I don't know that I could have handled it at 15, 16, 17, being away from home.
It's intense. Yeah.
Very intense, man. Now, the one thing I will tell you that, the vast majority of the kids that come here are really driven. They want to be great. They want to be coached up. And, that kind of supersedes a lot of the other stuff. And they get lost in their environment and they end up having a, instant set of friends with their team. And not to mention, like within those groups, you've got like our Korean guys, they have a tendency that, off the field to kind of run together because it's comfort, and at the same time, that's the only comfort they really have, because then they're thrown into their team environment, the weight room, wherever they're going. So I think that's great that they run together off the diamond. But what's really cool is, you see a couple of, American dudes, with two of our Japanese guys and a Korean guy, and they're going to Chipotle after practice together, and they hop in a car, and stuff like that, where you're like, how cool is that? And the kids talk about a great experience, being exposed to different cultures of the world and all, and you're in this kind of, I think one of the things why teams can come together pretty good here is when you get guys out of their comfort zone, they magnify it. It brings them closer together. Kind of going through something hard brings them closer together. And I will tell you that because a lot of them are away from their family units, their parents, their anchors, that we take the job as a coach for them very seriously. It's a big responsibility. It's a privilege, but it's a huge ass responsibility. Pardon my French. It's a big responsibility because you're having to wear that hat, the paternal hat. And most of us are husbands and dads, and we understand how important that is. They're going to be around us and their teammates more than their folks and their families for 9 months, 10 months. That's a lot, but it's also an opportunity to really impact these young guys. And so we take it very seriously. It is a big responsibility, but it's also fun. It's awesome. It's very impactful for me as well. It's not just a one-way street. I've been impacted by IMG very much so, by my players as much as me to them, if not more.
You can see how rewarding it is just listening to you talk. It's very clearly giving to you as much as you feel like and hope you're giving to them, and that's a special relationship when you can go to work every day and know that I believe in what I'm doing and I'm rewarded by it, and I'm hoping to reward other people through my effort. And boy, that's special in and of itself.
I agree. And I think that, so with our leadership group, when we hire new coaches to come in to our culture, the biggest thing is being here for the right reasons, and we've got some really, former big leaguers, big league coaches, all these different, some college guys, but they're here for the right reasons. And I'm okay if a young coach wants to get here and establish himself and learn how to really coach and pour into players and learn how to prepare and all that stuff and move on. I love doing that as well. I love helping young coaches get to where they want to go and help grow them. And that's part of my responsibilities, coaching coaches.
Wow.
But I think that the guys that I go to work with every day, and again, and this is not how it sounds, but I have had opportunities to not be at IMG over the past 3 years as well. And I'm not what I'm saying is that this place is the guys I go to work with every day mean that much to me. And then I also love the purity of coaching this level. I will tell you that the game has changed. The game has changed. It's become this pendulum swing to one side, and I don't know if it's all changed for the better. But I love the first thing when I came back here, I was like, man, what am I doing? I was just coaching like big leaguers, and now I'm here, and then I'm going, wow, this is way better. And because it's just the purity of, they're so malleable at this age. You get the opportunity to really fundamentally help them as a guy, help them as a player. Where in pro ball it can become kind of transient at time, where your touches are less, 6-month touch, 3-month touch, and they're out. Whereas here you can really see and pour into them over a longer period of time. I mean, that's rewarding. So
Yeah.
I will tell you that I've actually written some things where I think that this level, I would recommend any high level coach at this level before going to a higher level. It's not, again, and I started out in rookie ball and all that stuff when I was in pro ball, but when you coach at this level, the thing that I found, two things I found. One, it's the emotions run rampant. They have no perspective. It's like 0 for 4, end of the oh my God.
Right.
So because this is like their deal, right? They don't have kids. They don't have a lot of other, this is like their deal. So perspective is huge. The second piece of this is you have to know what you're doing. I mean, you have to take your competence level up, because to break stuff down really simply for players, you really have to go and distill things down even more. So you take your coaching backwards, which helps you kind of know things on a deeper level. I think that this place has really helped me become a better coach in that sense as well. Not just repackaging my delivery, my words or whatever. You're dealing with a different dynamic and age group, but it's that whole deal of, you got to distill it down for them, which it's not always that easy to do, because you assume stuff, like you assume they know things, but you have to take the firing order backwards. That's harder. And so I think it makes you a better coach. And some guys, I think higher level coaches could benefit. I think it takes you to a deeper level learning.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It does, because I think you're spot on with that, because I was coaching my son. He was like 6. It's like 6, 7, 8-year-olds, teaching baseball. And one of the other coaches, he's like, should we teach him how to crow hop? I was like, let's teach him how to catch first.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like, there are too many kids on this team who can't catch. Let's wait. Let's maybe the crow hop will be like end of the season, a little bonus fun thing. But I was like, let's teach him how to catch first.
Well, how about
I get that. Like,
the thought of
basic.
teaching someone a crow hop. Okay, so I mean, you got to go back. You got to figure out the dance, but higher levels, you're getting guys, okay, they're beyond the crow hop and blah, 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 blah. So you got to go backwards and know it at a deeper level. And God bless you for doing that. That's tough. That's a tough draw.
It's tough. It was so tough. I haven't coached in a couple of years because it was so tough. It's like, let's let him get a little bit older before we start coaching like a group of them. I can teach my kid how to play baseball, but some of the other kids I don't have the patience for.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he took the year off. I coached softball. I have 2 girls, and I coached their softball team. And he was laughing at me the whole time. He was like, "I told you, I told you."
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
Yes, that's a whole different animal too. Like they're wired differently, man, and so that's awesome. I love it.
Well, baseball family, let me tell you a little bit about Dave Turgeon really quick. He was drafted by the Yankees in 1987. He played with them through 1990. Then he went and played abroad, Holland, France, Taiwan, the Chinese Baseball League, Mexico through the late 90s, ended up with the Baltimore Orioles organization at the AAA level, and then 3 years coaching in the Indians organization, college baseball coaching for 8 years, finishing with Virginia Tech, and then an 11-year run coaching, managing, and player development with the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. it's quite the resume.
It's fun. It goes by quick. I will tell you that, a lot of all the experiences kind of lead you to where you're at. And, it's led me here. I, it's led me to here. I didn't end up here. It's led me to here. I'm grateful for it. I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. But I've kind of always operated on, be where you're at. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no better place to be. And the ability to impact and coach. Coaching is an amazing privilege.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions about playing abroad. So I'm a French linguist in the Army. That's what I did. And I've been to France, but baseball, it's not a first love over there. So what's it like playing in Holland and then in France and then
I had no
Taiwan,
idea
for sure.
Yeah, so I had no idea before I went, because it was like, yeah, sure, I'll go over there. I mean, I got released, and I had a Dodger scout say he was actually a international scout with the Dodgers, and I had known him. I don't know how I got to know him. I think he had Davidson connection. He had coached at Davidson as well. He said, "Hey, I may have an opportunity for you to go over and play in Holland." I was thinking, "Oh yeah, I'll go over there." And I've never been to Europe, and at first I had to find where Holland was on a map, and I'm a history guy, and I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, okay, I'll go over there and tear it up and see So I go over there, and I had no idea how good it was. And I'm facing guys on the mountain. I'm like, why is this guy here? I just left that, and yeah, he was in AAA with the Mariners, got released. He's looking to hook back, and then they had their younger players were prospects that would later sign, many of them going to the big leagues. And Curacao, we had some Curacao players there. We had an unbelievable talent pool over there, and it's really competitive, and there's a history to it. And the team I played on was it was awesome. We won a national championship. I had as much fun, and I was as challenged as any time in my career playing, and I was still playing a position. I had every intention of going back and getting my master's and getting into coaching after that season, but then this other France thing came up. So I went and you talk about different cultures, baseball culture in Holland. They were tough. They handle elements well. They don't care if it's pouring 42 and rain. Nothing affects them that way. They're not concerned about that stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
And so there's this toughness there, but also if you think about the physicality of the Dutch, I mean, there's a lot of 6'4" right-handers. They're, blowing 94, 95 with a slider over there, and they know what they're doing. And so when I said, all right, one more. And so I went back. I had the opportunity to play in France, and I lived in Paris and Paris University Club. And so this was a lot different experience in Holland. They don't have much of a history on baseball, but I played with the best team in Paris, which it's not a high bar in terms of, technical, tactical, and all that stuff. Now there was some athletes, okay, as far as the level, it was a lot more checkers versus chess. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
And so I remember the first doubleheader. We had doubleheader, and so you break and you grab a sandwich, and there was our center fielder having a beer with a sandwich, smoking a heater, and I'm like, wow,
the Red Sox.
This is a little bit different, okay. And then so what happened was but it's funny how opportunities lead to other opportunities. I've never been looking beyond where I was at, and we played in this Euro Cup where all the number one champion teams play in this Euro Cup, and it was scouted by Japanese scouts and Taiwanese scouts. And I had a couple guys, and I transitioned to the mound because I had one tool. I had a decent arm, and I had transitioned to the mound just for the heck of it. And a couple of scouts said, would you be interested in coming and trying out for our team in Taiwan? Where we have an expansion team, China Times Eagles, whatever. so I finished that year in France, and I got the tryout, and I was substitute teaching and doing some lessons to figure out my next move of going back to graduate school. And I get this call, and on like Christmas break, they flew me over for a tryout. They signed me to a spring training 2-month contract, and I ended up making the team, getting a 1-year deal, and the rest is history. I ended up spending 4.5 years there, but as impactful as any experiences I've ever had. Talk of culture, wherever you go, California, Taiwan, Northeast, Florida, every place has a different culture of baseball. And I think one of the things that I've never tried to do is ramrod the way I play or our game. I had to go learn how to play their game. And I think that's why I was able to hang around and have a little success there, because I had to figure out how to play their brand, and they appreciate that. And I just think that was just the way it happened for me. But that was very impactful. And I had Japanese pitching coach the entire time I was there. So I played in Taiwan. And my pitching coach, who was a humongous influence and redefined, how to work, how to break things down, attention to detail, because they really know how to work in that culture. And I just consider myself really fortunate to be exposed to that. It was awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
yeah. They own every inch of their game, don't they? Every single inch, they want to own it.
Yep. And there's a lot of respect involved in all of it. The foundation of it, from the respect for the umpire, the respect for the opposition, respecting your work, respecting your teammates, the game, kind of like it was here 50 years ago, but it's never left there. Post game, going out, bowing to the fans to thank them for coming to see them, bowing to the umpire, all that stuff. And, and is it super competitive? Yes. Do they want to kick your butt every single inning and every out? Yes, they do. They do it it's awesome. It's respect based, and
it's so cool.
It is. And I love that culture.
I was going to say, I love that you brought up with Holland that you're like, yeah, I'll go over there and tear it up, for a while. Cause I remember, it's probably 10, 15 years ago, I found out about the baseball league in Holland. And I remember being like, babe, I got to get in shape. Like, we're moving to Holland. And then I remember looking at the roster, like you said, everybody's like 6'4", 230. I was like, I can't hang with that. Never mind. There's no chance.
There were dudes on every team, and I'm going, oh man, I thought, and I remember just going, man, I need to go back to work, and I was like, wow. So, but yeah, it's all kind of shaped me, and I have different things from different places, and I can't say, obviously I was born and raised here, but I just feel like I've had my perspective readjusted and my lens changed so many times that just kind of keeps you in this place of being open-minded to learn things. That's just, it's phenomenal.
Talk about empathy, right? Like you can't humbly submit yourself to another culture without increasing your empathy. You just can't.
No
and then
doubt.
Once you do that, you can't let go of it. It'll never go away.
It's you just brought up a huge point. And so when I went back into player development, and these young guys come over from the DR, they're 18, 17, 16, then having the ability to go there, travel, and see where they're coming from. If you ever went through the process of where they're from, the system they go through to get to the States, to be even have this opportunity to play and develop, it's a miracle that it's amazing. And some of my dearest friends in the game, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Mexico, all these guys, I'm just like, I have so much respect for, where they came from to get where they went. The amount of, just talk about being uncomfortable and dealing with it, getting comfortable with that. So I always had a soft place in my heart for any player from a foreign country. I've been that guy. It's really hard. The hardest thing probably was Asia, because the language, like Taiwanese and Mandarin, is really so unbelievable. And then culture shock, language barrier, culture shock, different game, like a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
How's that different, from any of the players I've coached that come from those different places? It's not, it's hard. And,
Yeah.
but at the same time, if you open yourself up to that, it's pretty rewarding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a few weeks in South Korea on an army thing, and it was the same thing. It was like just 3 weeks there. It was mind blowing. I thought,
Yep.
holy moly, there's a lot I don't know about the world, right? And that's the
Yeah.
first thing you realize. Like, I guess I don't know anything.
We are so fortunate. So we have a pitching coach who was 18, went through the Brave system, Bong, JB Bong, and he has his son here at IMG Academy. Most humble, awesome human ever. And we had, and I love him to death. And we had, so when I was coaching the national team, I had a guy, Jae Woo Cho, who ended up at University of Arkansas as a pitcher. He was here from 8th grade on, and didn't speak a lick of English when he got over here. And his dad was a coach. So he came from this discipline and structured environment and all that stuff. So obviously that helped him. But, you watch that culture. How can he transition to this structure and discipline? I mean, that's the foundation of improvement, right? And so that's why some of those guys come over here and they can do it, because they have this discipline. It's just part of their culture. And the thing about the South Korean, I mean, they love to practice.
Right.
You take infield, that's like a 40-minute, that's a 40-minute piece right there, taking infield, outfield, or ground ball work, or just hitting it, everything. They just so much discipline. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's awesome, and I think the awesome piece when you talk about the cultures and all this kind of coming into a melting pot, our culture of baseball here, generally speaking, can really help impact the Asian guys that come over, in a sense where they can impact and raise the bar on work ethic and structure and discipline for our guys. And our guys at the same time have such a great influence on teaching them how to find that relaxed mode where you can play free, as opposed to perfection. So like this perfection thing which that is a unicorn in baseball. You're not going to find you're going to be really disappointed at the end of every day. And so I think the biggest thing is, like, you bring all these things together, but they all help. They all help the other. It's like a symbiotic relationship, I guess is what you'd call it.
That's cool.
Like, I know how the Asian culture is impacted and help redefine what work means. I help redefine, you can have fun doing this thing, and I'm not talking about messing around on the field and jumping around, just enjoying the process, and not chase improvement versus perfection. That's a big difference. So I think that the whole thing, that's why it works, because they all help. We all help one another in our own thing, Yeah.
So I'm curious, what was the most stark thing when you got to an international league? Like, sometimes we see clips from the Mexican league or like Venezuela or whatever, and it feels a little bit like the Wild West, right? Like, kind of a wild game. What was the biggest thing when you got to like Holland or France or even Taiwan or Mexico that you're like, whoa, it's like, aside from the beer and sandwiches between a doubleheader, right? Like, what was the biggest thing that you're like, this is a little different, like, not what I'm used to?
It's besides the obvious, language stuff. I think it's adopting to the style of play, because it's ingrained in you, right? You have to modify some behaviors because you want to be able to fit in, but at the same time, you have a job to do and you want to compete and earn your keep and all that stuff. So to me, adapting to the styles of play, I will say this, the adjustment from States to the European style, when I look back on it, it was like, man, this is shock and awe. This is crazy. Like, and then going to Asia and doing that, it helped me. But I'm like, this is like no other change I've ever experienced, right? To adapt. And so the ability to adapt is huge. But when I went back, then went to Mexico, it was easy. Like it was easy transition because I just went through this unbelievable, like hard experience for so many reasons, right? And then to go to Mexico where there's a lot of American influence on that game. And I mean, hitters have different approaches, way more American style, it's a very, it's got its own thing, but it's very closer to back into the mainland thing where I came from. But I will tell you, after going through that, funneling back into AAA, I thought this is easier. This is easier. This is easier.
Because you knew it, because that's what you'd seen all the way up until you left to go abroad. Is that why?
I think that coming and pitching in different places and like in Asia, they're not interested in pulling the ball. And so you have to figure out how to they don't have real holes. They work inside the baseball. They use the field. It's not lift pull. And so then you get back in where hitters kind of profile. If you look at lineups, speed at the top, thumpers in the middle,
for sure,
speed again at the bottom. And so you have different kind of hitters. Where over there it was like, man, they'll bunt. They don't care, 3-hole hitter. And so it's very much, you have to know what you're doing to figure out how to get guys out versus, I might have 1 or 2 hitters like that in an American lineup, but the thumpers, they're giving you outer third, or they're surrendering the inner part of the plate, or they got holes. Guys that work inside the baseball, not interested in pulling the ball, don't have real holes. They're playing pepper. So you have to figure out how to get them out. And whereas a lot of times over here, guys will get themselves out. That's why, so I had to learn how to pitch. Come back here and get, knowing a Japanese pitching coach and a lot of video time and work and all that stuff, to come back here and face this culture of hitter, I felt was easier just because of the approach of every single hitter over there. It's the same approach, and you have to figure out how to get them out. I mean, and velocity means nothing. Like they grew up 8 years old seeing velocity off machines. They don't care. You work inside the ball. Over here, if I got a lift pull guy, I know there's holes, and I just, if I make my pitches are out there, they'll catch a mistake. They got me, but
sure.
But
that hard in, soft away profile on power hitter doesn't really work with the Asian team.
I swear, you can't get in on them. They work inside the ball. They'll drop step inside, and they'll shoot one down the right field line with 2 strikes. You're like, what? What did he just do?
Dropping his hands?
I grew up watching Ichiro.
He just do that.
I don't know how he does anything he does with the way he does it. It just it blew my mind forever. And we'll continue to.
Fantastic stuff. But I mean, there's so many differences. But to be exposed to all the different things, it just makes you better. And it gives you a deeper understanding of the job it takes, whatever the game demands. I got more ways to skin a cat. When I got back here, I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well,
your IQ goes up.
Right. And your IQ goes up.
Your IQ
sure.
expands.
For sure. You're looking at things so differently all the time, and as a pitcher, you're always looking at ways to get guys out, and you're never concerned about your velocity because it's really not important. It's about making pitches, speed them up, slowing them down, doing what you need to do, pitching in for effect, all of the things. But you have to learn how to pitch against that approach. I mean, I'm grateful. And I remember the lessons that my Japanese pitching coach Holi-san gave me. it was always really simple. It was always very pointed. It was always directed to me and my skill set and weapons, how to get hitters out. He showed me how you coach every individual differently, and with how do I get guys out with your weapons? I'm not. This is about you, and how are we going to get you guys out? So that was also great lessons in teaching and coaching.
So if you have a kid who is projected to go, let's say, late rounds in the MLB draft, or he can go to a smaller D1, or he has a chance to go international, what would you recommend him do at that point?
I think that there's two things on that. I think it's really important. I believe in education. I believe that there's very few players that you coach, even when I was at the pro level, at all the levels. So many of the guys aren't going to play in the big leagues, and so it's like I believe education is important. I think finding an academic fit and a fit where you're going to play, you can't improve and you can't progress and you can't move in this game unless you're playing and developing. It's one of these high rep sports. It's not once a week. It's an everyday thing, and so the training is important. And the games are important. Training and games. And I always my big thing with players here, if you want to go on to college, we're going to help you do that. Just know that it's got to be an academic fit. It's got to be a fit athletically where you have a real opportunity to play. Nothing's guaranteed, real opportunity to go and compete and play, because there's only one way to progress in this game is playing it and training it. And so I'm a huge advocate of education, along with, being able to play and develop. Always have been.
So along that vein, I hopped on the school's Instagram before we had you come on. How many guys did you have go D1 this year that are committed to D1?
Oh man,
it's like everybody, isn't it?
We have 14 teams, 235 players, 34 coaches. So we've got a lot, right? And so we had a lot of D1 guys. We have D2, we have NAIA, we have some JUCO dogs, we got some D3 studs. We've got all of it. We've got the whole spectrum of guys. And so, the guys that get the most pub are always the D1 guys and all that stuff, which
sure.
In the big scheme of things, I wish that I could tell parents that it means so little. It's the opportunity to play, not the sexiness of the uniform and the school and the resource, all that stuff. But it's hard. It's hard to accept that for some reason. I think that there's this stigma of, man, if you're not Power 5, man. I mean, my older brother Mike was a Division III Eastern Connecticut State University 6th-round pick. Played Chicago Cubs, San Francisco Giants. Brother Steve played at Central Connecticut Division II, St. Louis Cardinals. Blah blah. It's not where you play; it's how you play and play and develop, and have that experience and get your education. And everything else is talk about overrated. The whole I got to go D1 is just completely blown out of proportion.
Mm-hmm. It is and I wish I'd known that as a high schooler, because I got to the point where I was like, I got hurt, had to take a year off, and I was like, man, if missing this year I had to miss, it was my junior year I was going to miss, and I was like, there's no shot at D1, which means there's basically no future. I had no idea at the time. JUCO's fine.
Oh, not to mention,
nothing wrong with JUCO.
There's nothing wrong with graduating debt free.
You're right. Yeah. And I wish I'd known that at the time.
I'm a huge advocate of, because higher learning has just become out of control, just financially and stuff. Yeah. So junior college. So I get to go play, improve, compete, get better, maybe even get drafted. Who knows? And start knocking off my prereqs, maybe even figure out a major. So I spend 2 years at a D1 or D2 and get a 4-year degree, graduate debt free, because I went about it through the JUCO route. It's a huge bonus.
Yeah.
It's a huge bonus. And I love, and I also love JUCO players. They're not entitled. They've earned it. We have a couple of JUCO coaches here, not afraid to work. They have coaching range. They coach different spots, not just pitching guy, hitting guy. They coach everything. They're not afraid to go set the field up and work and drag the field and get in there. Those are off. Those guys they're invaluable, and it's real. Those are the guys you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a junior college just down the street, and we drive by their field all the time. We see them out there playing and stuff. And my son finally asked one time, he's like, "Are those guys just not as good?" I was like, "Playing higher than I ever got to, so I can't say that they're not good." I was like, and we just haven't had a chance to go watch them. But I was like, man, it's cool. Yeah. I love it.
I mean, listen, it's also a great spot for maybe a non-qualifier. We have a kid from Puerto Rico, and he got drafted here. He was my shortstop a couple of years ago. He got drafted like a 20th, 18th round. Didn't sign. Goes to a junior college. Started getting a better handle on the language. Started committing to his academics. Got his associates, got popped again, didn't sign, got popped again, signed. And, he's off pitching. He was a shortstop, but had a hard time hitting, and now he's playing, but has an associates. And his signing bonus was he'll get his 4-year degree, paid for. And
that's awesome.
That's how I define success. I mean, he's got his degree. He can go do this thing. There's a small window to do it in. If not, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. And he's one of those guys too. It's like, okay, I don't care if you're not in it for the education, but if baseball makes them have to go to class, eventually they're going to figure out, I really need this to kind of do something, post whenever I'm done playing. So even if it's, going to a trade school, whatever that looks like, I don't care, but still education is the key. And I can't say enough about junior college and the experience too. I mean, they're not getting anything handed to them.
No, nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. Work for everything.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my freshman baseball coach told us, because he had a couple of guys, Brian Hunter, not the other Hunter, actually got drafted while he's sitting in his class, and so he told us all. I know he played for the Mariners. I can't remember who he got drafted by. I'll have to look it up. I'll look it up while I tell you this. But he told us as freshmen in high school, he said, if you ever, and he kind of looked at us all like, I don't know about any of you, but if you ever have a chance to get drafted out of high school, he's like, make sure in your contract it says we will pay for your schooling if you wash out.
Correct.
That was a huge thing. I will never forget that. I was like, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, and not an allotment of money, because schooling goes up every year and your allotment goes smaller and smaller. So whatever that, now I get it. They may give you a time frame. Once you start, okay, you have 6 years, but once you start pursuing that degree, you have a block of time. I don't have a problem with that, but to cover the cost is a big deal. And I mean, now you think about it, the amount of debt kids are graduating with today. It's like, man, did you not contemplate this? I don't understand that, and no, I did, but school was not the way it was now. I went to Davidson, which was like 10 grand a year at the time. I had work study, student loan, Perkins loan, and we figured, and then, but I wasn't saddled with debt when I graduated.
Yeah.
And I, I was able to make that. So, but now it's different. It's very different, man. And, there's a lot of good ways to do it. If you don't fall victim to, I got to play D1, it's got to be this, and you're forcing things. It's just not a good plan.
Yeah. Anytime you force it, it's wrong. I always say that. That's, my parents taught me that. They're like, if you have to force it, it's probably, you work hard is different than forcing it.
No question. That's gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. He was drafted in the second round in the 89 draft. Second round by the Astros.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he played for the Mariners for like a year, and so we all know who he was when our coach was telling us about him. He's like, yeah, he was sitting in my history class when he got the call that he got picked. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's really awesome.
That is cool. To get called out of your class for not being in trouble and you're actually getting drafted, that's very cool.
Oh, I got to take a phone call. Hold on.
Yeah, I thought it was cool when he
acted
walked
that
through
way
my
in
English
high
class
school,
and said, I thought it was cool when he walked through my English class, like, hey, you want to start JV today as a freshman? I was like, yeah. And then I was like riding high all day. I didn't have anything near like drafted things.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
I acted that way in high school. Had no business acting that way in high school. I thought my Letterman jacket was my get out of class free card. It's all worked out.
Yeah, man.
Well, Dave, we're gonna have to invite you back on, man. This has been such a great conversation, and I don't know about Brad, but I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Definitely.
My pleasure.
I do know about Brad though. Actually,
Ball talk is the best, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is
it
the best.
really is. That's why we do what we do, and you know, our platform is called Baseball Together. We really do feel like baseball is better together, whether it's with your family, with your friends, with the international group of students that you're helping coach and develop as people. It just is such an integral part of our culture, of the past, of what we hope the future to look like. And so, honestly, we appreciate you coming on and being part of our baseball family. This has been
my
great.
pleasure, fellas. My pleasure. Anytime. Love to come back, cut it up with you. It's awesome. I love it.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dave.
Baseball family, thank you so much for joining us for our conversation with Dave Turgeon for this week's episode of Ball Talk. I could have sat there and talked to him all day, Brig, like legitimately. Some of the extra conversation we had too, because there was a lot of stuff that we just sat and talked for a long time with him. If you want to get the rest of that conversation, there's a lot of really good, a lot of funny stuff that we just talked about after, before, stuff like that. You can find that over on Patreon. You can head over to patreon.com and search Baseball Together, or hit the link in the description. There's always a link in the description for everything we do, talk about, promote on this show. So you can get over there, and there are 5 tiers of support: $1, $5, $10, $15, and a whopping $500 a month of support. Everybody gets the bullpen cut of every episode and every episode of Ball Talk as well. So it's all there for you. You can go check it out. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is that Baseball family, we have a merch shop again, hosted on millions.co. You can head over there again, search Baseball Together, or scan that QR code if you're watching on TV or a desktop computer, or again, click the link in the description. We have a couple t-shirts, a couple sweatshirts. We're working on another t-shirt right now that's going to be super cool. I'm very excited about it. And then we're going to drop some other stuff too. We get some stickers too. So head over there, get that stuff. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review everywhere that you can, especially on YouTube. It would be greatly appreciated because we love it there. It's where we do most of our stuff, where you can find everything. Long form, short form, extra short form, whatever. It's all on YouTube. You can catch everything there. But anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week.